Heyo, and welcome to video number 3 of our 4-part pom-pom and tassel DIY series. Marissa from the Neon Tea Party here. In this video, I'm going to show you my favorite way to make tassels that you can attach to literally anything. To make tassels, you'll need yarn or cord of your choice, the loom tool, scissors, and a plastic needle. Start by taking the tail of your yarn, cord, string, or whatever you're making your tassel with and placing it into one of the notches on your loom tool. You can use either side of your tool depending on how long you want your tassel. We're going to take our yarn and begin wrapping it around our loom tool on the wide side, counting the number of revolutions as we go. Depending on the type of fiber you're using and how fat you want your tassel, the number of revolutions varies, so as a general rule, you'll want to experiment a bit. I also recommend writing down little formulas when you make a tassel you're happy with. In this case, I'm going to go around 20 revolutions using 2 strands of yarn at once, so a total of 40 revolutions. Once you're done wrapping your yarn, place the yarn into a notch on the same side as the beginning, and then just cut your yarn, leaving a tiny tail. You can see here that this is going to be the top of your tassel and this is going to be the bottom, which is why we want our 2 tails to be on the same side. Next, we're going to take a new piece of yarn and thread it through the center of the yarn on our loom. This is going to become the top of our tassel, which we can either hide within the tassel or be used to turn your tassel into a bag charm or tie it onto something. We'll come back to those options later, but it's something to think about when choosing this yarn in case you want to use a different color. Either way, once the yarn is threaded through, match up the 2 ends and then wiggle your yarn to the top of your loom tool on the opposite side from where those 2 tails are. The yarn should be flush against the top surface of your tool. Then, tie a single knot simply to keep your yarn together, and then gently remove your yarn from your loom tool. Once it's off, pull that knot nice and tight and secure it with a second knot. Can you see the tassel forming already? Now we're going to turn the tassel over and begin snipping open the loops in small sections, pulling up on the loops to make sure we get an even snip. Once your tassel is open, you can decide whether to hide the strands or not. If you want to leave the strands hanging on the top, just leave the tassel fringes as they are. But if you want to hide the strands, carefully bring the tied strands to the underside of the tassel. You could also flip the fringe over. However, I found that method makes the fringe look uneven, but it's totally up to you. I'm going to bring my top knot to the underside of my tassel and show you how to make a clean, finished tassel. Next, we're going to create the head of our tassel using a wrap knot. Wrap knots are awesome. They're used in tons of projects, including macrame, to add a polished wrap that has no visible knot, so they're perfect for tassels. I prep my tassel by sort of petting down the fringe and holding it in my left hand with the top of the tassel popping out like a little groundhog. Next, in your right hand, take a new piece of yarn and make a little loop by bending it a couple inches down or about the same length as your tassel. Lift your left thumb and place the loop where you want your wrap knot to go. Then use your thumb to keep the loop in place. The loop should be pointing upwards and should stick out during this whole process. Now, using your right hand, wrap the long side of the yarn around the head of your tassel 3 times, wrapping flush against the tassel but not pulling tight. Once you've wrapped 3 times, you can go ahead and carefully pull to tighten those wraps. You may want to pull slightly on the loop and short side hanging down as well. Once you're happy with how those wraps look, you can wrap around tightly about 3 more times. Next, trim the yarn and feed this new tail through the loop at the top. Now comes the cool part. Gently pull down on the other tail of your wrap knot and watch how the loop begins to collapse. You want to keep pulling until the loop fully disappears underneath the wraps. Be sure not to pull too much though, because the loop can also come out the bottom of the wrap. Once the loop is where you want it, you can tighten the knot by gently pulling on both tails. Looks nice, right? So now you have two options as to what to do with the excess yarn. You can either trim it or make it part of the tassel. Usually, when I use a different color yarn for my wrap knot, I'll trim it so that there isn't a random stripe of color in my tassel. But if my wrap knot is the same color as my tassel, I'll use my yarn needle to add this top strand into the tassel. For the sake of the demonstration today, I'm going to show you how to hide the strand. It's pretty straightforward. Thread the tail through the eye of the yarn needle. Use your needle to go underneath the loop on the top of your tassel and pull the yarn through. Then, go underneath the wrap knot on the other side. That's it. To finish your tassel, use your needle to comb through your tassel, getting out any tangles, and then carefully trim the bottom to be even, cutting in small sections. And there you have it. A beautiful, perfect tassel. You can get creative with using multiple colors in your tassel using the same pattern techniques as the pom-poms. You can also make longer tassels using the XL loom, your cell phone, a book, a piece of cardboard, or basically anything you can think of. All right, now that you're a pro at pom-poms and tassels, let's move on to our fourth and final video, how to attach pom-poms and tassels.